Hi, and welcome back to Rain or Shine Gardening. I am Katie, and today we are going to talk pollinating pumpkins. Last year, I think maybe I got one or two pumpkins out of all of the pumpkins that I planted, maybe not even that. And I was stumped. I didn't know what was going on, why I wasn't getting my pumpkins. I had so many flowers on my plants. I just was not getting any fruit. So I did a little bit of research and I found out that you can actually hand pollinate your squash and pumpkins. And that's what I tried this year, and I've had some really good success. I've also noticed a lot of people posting the same questions. Why am I not getting pumpkins to grow on? They just keep dying off and falling off of my vines. They're not turning into pumpkins. So I thought I'd just make a quick video of a really simple explanation of how to do this in case there's anybody else out there who wants to as well. I'm sure in the really large pumpkin fields in farms and things like that, they just have so many pumpkins planted that the female flowers are open at the same time as the male flowers, and they get plenty of pollination from bees and other pollinators out there in their fields. But what I've found is that my female flowers on the vine, they open for a shorter amount of time, but they don't always open at the same time as the male flowers. And so there's just such a short window. A lot of them don't end up getting pollinated in time. And I have a few plants, but not a huge number of plants. So this has been really successful for me. So I'm going to share some more about that with you today. I have some examples of fruit that's dying off of my vines. I went on a vacation. I was gone camping for a little while, so I was not hand pollinating for about a week. And so I do have some that did not get pollinated and they will not grow. They will the fruit will rot and fall off the vine because they were not pollinated. So I will show some examples of those and we'll talk through some of the process of pollinating, and I'll try to get a close-up shot of doing that today to share with you all. This is a really good example of a pumpkin that was pollinated there on the left. The green pumpkin with the striping, it's getting larger. You can see it was pollinated. And then on the right side, that is a fruit that was not pollinated. And it's rotting. You can see the stem is actually detaching from the fruit. It's going to fall off pretty soon. So that's how you can tell the difference. The one on the left is growing, it's green, and the one on the right is not. And so the one on the right that's rotting, that's what all of my fruit looked like last year. And so now with hand pollinating, which I did with the one on the left, I'm having more success and getting more fruit to grow. There are two types of squash flowers. There's a male flower and a female flower. And you can see here, this is a male flower. And I can tell that because it has one stamen there in the middle of the flower. See if I can get a closer shot there. You can see the one stamen with the pollen. And then if I look back on the vine behind the flower, there is no fruit growing. It's just a little bulb where the flower comes out, but there's no fruit here. So I know this is a male flower. And I've actually picked one off the vine because I want to show you how I get my little pollinator stick ready to go. So this is a male flower. I just pulled it right off the vine here. You can see that single stamen in the middle with the pollen on it. Okay, and once I have the male flower here, what I'm going to do is just kind of tear the flower off around the sides. That's just going to make the stamen more accessible. So now I have a little stick of pollen that I'm going to use to pollinate my pumpkin flowers, the female flowers. Okay, I was on the search here for a female flower and I found one. So you see how the flower here is attached to a fruit, and I can see that little pumpkin. Now, if this flower was not fertilized, it was not pollinated by a bee bringing the pollen from a male flower to the female flower, then this fruit will actually not grow and it will rot off the vine and I will not get a pumpkin out of it. So what I am going to do is I'm going to open up this flower here And you can see the inside of the female flower does look different than the male flower. And I'm going to take the male flower and all this lovely pollen, and I'm going to rub it all around inside of the female flower. Make sure that it gets covered as much as possible. Sometimes I even put this down in here and break it off, and I will leave it in there. Here's an example of a questionable pumpkin. So this one is starting to turn yellow. That flower has already opened, and my guess is that it probably did not get pollinated. It's already starting to turn yellow. You can probably expect that it's going to rot off the vine. I do see some that are growing. So this one is one that I hand pollinated, and you can see that it is actually getting to be a fairly decent size pumpkin. It's about the size of a softball right now. There's the other one in the back. I've actually got one that looks like it's growing back here inside of this other planter. The squash, the pumpkin vine has grown up into that. So I think I have another one there. There's one in the back as well. So I'd probably say I have a half a dozen pumpkins on this plant. Okay, one other thing I wanted to mention is there is a benefit of using a fresh open flower. You see how this one looks? It's a male flower. You see how fresh and open and nice the petals look on the flower. And then this is also a male flower, but it has opened. It is almost spent. If you look inside of this, I don't know if you can see, but I can see with my eye some powdery pollen. I know this one is loaded up with pollen. It just opened. It's a fresh flower. I know it has plenty of pollen in there. And then if you open this one up, let me see if I can get it open. I don't see the same amount of pollen because this flower has been open. The bees have enjoyed it. They have taken all of the pollen out of it. So if I use this bent bloom to try to pollinate my pumpkin, I'm going to have a lot lower success just because there's not a lot of pollen in this. But this fresh flower, it has just opened and it has a lot of its pollen left. So when you're hand pollinating, try to find one of these freshly opened flowers to use to pollinate your pumpkins. You'll have a lot greater chance of it being successful. This is another area I have pumpkins growing, and it's next to my little pop-up greenhouse and my potting bench over here. And I have a couple pumpkins that I have hand pollinated. You can see them growing down here. They're getting bigger. These pumpkins are called spooky pumpkins, and they're seeds that I got from Epic Gardening. And they are a mix between a carving pumpkin and a pie pumpkin. And we love making pumpkin pies out of our fresh pumpkin. So that's really what we were hoping to grow on. And I am noticing that I am getting some rotten fruit. Here's a good example of one of those here. You can see that fruit on the back end of it, the rotten flower. This did not get pollinated, so it is not going to grow. And I've got one pumpkin growing actually inside the greenhouse right there. The pumpkin is trying to climb inside, which is kind of funny. So I'm going to see if I can find any female flowers that need to be pollinated over on this side too, so I can help the plant out and help my success rate of getting as many pumpkins as possible out of my vine this year. Here is a female flower that has not opened yet with the fruit on the back of it, and I am going to pollinate this one. So I'm finding a fresh flower that looks like it has just opened right here, and I'm taking off the outside of the male flower so that I'm just left with the stamen that has all of the pollen on it. And then I am going to just break open this flower on the top here so I can get the pollen inside. And just rub that around, get all the pollen in there. And then, like I said, I usually like to just break it off if I can and leave it inside of there to increase my chances of that working. So now, hopefully, this will turn into a little pumpkin for me and continue to grow. All right, hopefully that helped a little bit with kind of seeing my process for hand pollinating my pumpkins, and hopefully that might have helped somebody out there with the same process and with the same struggles that I had last year. I do come out every other day or so and check for new pumpkins to pollinate. Every day, you probably won't notice that much of a difference. Every few days, you'll probably notice some new female fruit and flowers that are ready to be pollinated. A happy pumpkin growing, and rain or shine. I'll see you next time.